Hello again. I'm going to dispel a lot of the myths and misconceptions about hypnosis out there. So a lot of people have an idea of what hypnosis is. And it's usually a guy on stage that will bring people up to the stage. He'll make them bark like a dog or act like a chicken or make them do something that they don't normally want to do. And this is a real type of hypnotic induction called shock hypnosis. And it was used during the war a lot for pain management, like when someone would get shot or injured, they would need to be shocked into the state of hypnosis so they could take their mind off of the pain. But in therapeutic hypnosis, or hypnosis for therapy, we don't use shock hypnosis. We use the type of natural hypnosis that everybody, whether they realize it or not, goes in and out of every day. So you actually can't go to sleep without passing through the stage of hypnosis, because it works like this. Everybody has brain waves, and these brain waves will change speeds and frequencies at different levels. And when you're at a beta brainwave state, it's a state of alertness and wakefulness. And then right underneath that, you have the alpha state, which is deep relaxation, meditation, and hypnosis. It's also the state that people who smoke marijuana are in when they're stoned off marijuana. And then underneath that, you have delta and theta, which is dream sleep, and then even deeper, dreamless sleep. And so hypnosis is just the doorway in between waking and sleeping. And the reason why it works, hypnosis, is because everybody has a learning ability, and everybody learns differently. And the way that you learn is called your suggestibility type in hypnosis. And there was a study a while back that said that not everybody can be hypnotized. There's a certain percentage of people within the population who cannot be hypnotized. But it's actually false, because that study was using a very basic progressive relaxation script, only using words for the physical suggestible type, which I'll get into now. There's two types of suggestibilities. There's emotional suggestibility and there's physical suggestibility. And the emotional suggestibility type is more inferred. So if somebody says to you, hey, nice shirt, and then you ask them, like, or you're asking yourself, why did that person tell me that I have a nice shirt today? Why didn't they say anything yesterday? Why are they even giving me a compliment at all? Do they want something from me? You start thinking about the meaning behind people's words, and so you infer. So a lot of people learn better inferentially. And then there's physical suggestibility, which is more literal. People who have more of a physical suggestibility type will learn better literally. So if you say, hey, nice shirt, they just, okay, thank you. He told me I have a nice shirt, and that is what it is, literal. But we all have both types of suggestibility. It's just that one is usually more dominant than the other. So you have a dominant type and you have a subdominant type. So those who are 60% emotional and 40% physical means that 60% of the information or the words that go into their brain, they interpret inferentially, and the other 40% that goes into their brain, they interpret more literal. And if you are right in the middle, 50% emotional and physical suggestibility, you are what's called a somnambulist. Somnambulist people are the most easily hypnotized, which is a good thing, because that means that they can get the tool working a lot easier. And it's not necessarily good to walk around somnambulistic every single day all the time without being aware of it, because that means you're also more suggestible. And when you're more suggestible, it's not just to positive suggestions, it's also to negative suggestions. By the way, these suggestions could be from your own mind as well. People that have a lot of anxiety have a lot of negative thoughts. So if you start to accept those negative thoughts, it could influence your subconscious story. And we all know what happens when you have a negative subconscious story. You send a signal out to the universe that's negative, and the universe returns back to you what the signal says. And so if you're sending out a negative signal, then you're not going to get good things happen to you delivered back from the universe. So in hypnosis, what we do is we try to snap people out of homeostasis. And if you don't remember, I talk about homeostasis a lot, and what that is, it's a tendency for things to stay the same. And it's actually a good thing that there's homeostasis, because picture it like this. If we all lived in a village, which we all used to live in a village somewhere. Let's say we all live in a village, and you need to know who to trust. You need to know who everybody is. So you need to know who I can rely on when I need fish or food I can go to this person because I know that they're good at fishing, they get the best food. I need to go to this person because I need a basket. They're very good at weaving baskets. And I need to not go near this other person because I can't trust them, they steal. Everyone needs to know who everyone else is. And if we were just changing who we are all the time, it would be so confusing, it would cause chaos. So there's a purpose and a reason for homeostasis, which is good. However, if you're trying to change, then you need to break out of homeostasis. And the way that we break out of homeostasis is through hypnosis, because the way that you learned a habit that happens automatically, meaning people that like pizza, so you see pizza and you automatically get hungry and your mouth starts to water and your digestion starts to take place. It all happens automatically. You don't have to consciously force yourself to get hungry when there's pizza around. So that's an automatic response. So when it comes to our habits and our behaviors, it's the same thing. It works automatically. And it learned to become that way through hypnosis, through suggestibility. And during therapeutic hypnosis, what we do is that we return people to the state that they were in when they learned a certain habit. We take them into that state and we reprogram their subconscious mind with new suggestions, with positive suggestions that we both work on. And with daily reinforcement and getting the tool to work properly and familiarizing yourself, conditioning yourself to the state of hypnosis, you can break out of homeostasis. You can change who you are, and you can become someone who you never dreamed of because you never knew it was possible. You never knew it was possible, and it is possible because even smoking, everybody had to learn how to smoke. Most people don't enjoy their first cigarette. Hurts their lungs. I didn't enjoy my first cigarette, but I trained myself to smoke. I don't smoke anymore, but I trained myself to smoke when I was a smoker. And there's pleasure rewards. Yeah, there's a little bit of pain, but the pleasure of socializing, partying, and all that stuff, a lot of people will be willing to go through the pain to get that pleasure. It's even spanking is also like that. A lot of children whom their primary caretakers spanked them or corporally punished them would hug them afterwards and show them even more affection out of guilt. And so what ends up happening is that those kids who were raised like that will actually learn that doing something bad to get spanked, to then get hugged and shown affection, is their way of getting that pleasure reward. Because they go through a little bit of pain, but they get that pleasurable reward, which is the affection and the hugs from the primary caretaker. And this can carry on way into adulthood, and it shows up in a lot of different disruptive behaviors. And so in hypnosis, we go back to the state where you learned to become this way, because that is when you were most suggestible. And this is the way habits become hardwired. And they can be unhardwired, but you have to go through the state of hypnosis to do it. So environmental hypnosis. I said earlier that everybody goes in and out of the state of hypnosis every day, and that everybody can be hypnotized, just a question of their suggestibility. Well, the types of hypnosis that people go in and out of every day are things like watching a movie. When you watch a movie, you have to suspend your disbelief. You know that everybody's acting, you know that it's all special effects, you know the story's fiction, but you're still able, knowing all that, to enjoy the movie, to go through the experiences of the characters, to laugh and cry and get excited, get fearful, whenever that cue appears in the movie. And you wouldn't be able to go through that experience, suspending your disbelief, if you weren't in the state of hypnosis. So movies is one type of state of hypnosis. Another one is right before you go to sleep. Like I said earlier when I was talking about the different brainwave states and the doorway to the alpha state and everything like that, you pass through hypnosis before going to sleep. Another one is driving. If you've ever driven the same route over and over again so many times that you know it automatically, and you were driving that route one day, you missed the exit, or you got to that place, destination in record time, you don't even know how you got there so fast, but the time just flew by like that. That's a state of hypnosis, because you weren't using your conscious mind to occupy yourself on getting there. So those are environmental types of hypnosis. And I'm going to go back to suggestibility types for a little bit. So basically, why there's suggestibility types is it's for the hypnotist to understand how to hypnotize you. And once we know what a person's suggestibility type is, it allows us to speak to them in their language. So for example, if you're talking to somebody and their name is Jeremy, and you call them Jeremy, they are going to accept that suggestion because that's their name. Now, if you're talking to the same person and you were to call them Julie instead of Jeremy, they're going to catch that and they're going to analyze it and then they're going to block it because that's not their name. So when it comes to using the correct suggestions to hypnotize somebody, it's the same exact concept. You have to speak their language, and if you're speaking to them in a different language that they don't understand, they will actually still go into hypnosis, but at a very light level. And to get them deep into hypnosis, you have to get them to, you have to speak to them in their language. So knowing their suggestibility type. And it works basically because the theory goes that there's 127 steps that a person will pass through when entering the hypnotic sleep. And at each stage, there's a different variety of physiological and psychological changes that take place, like analyzing. Taking the time to analyze something is a state. So as you're listening to everything I'm saying and you're analyzing what I'm saying, you're actually preoccupied with the analyzing that your subconscious is now not protected. And this opens up the filters and allows more suggestions to sink in. You also have to think of it in terms of like the advertising industry. Why do you think there's so many commercials out there and print ads and on TV? Just everywhere you look, there's pretty much ads and things like that for commercials. And the reason why is because they know that you're going into a state of hypnosis before you see the ads. Because anytime you're distracted or you have high anxiety or you're spending a lot of mental power trying to figure something out, it's kind of why you go into hypnosis. So it's why malls. Have you ever been to certain malls? The parking garage and the way the mall is laid out is super confusing. And that's because by the time you park the car, figure out where your store is and everything like that, and you get there, they start playing the music, you're looking for an escape. Because you've been spending all that time getting there and figuring things out. You're now ready to relax. You're ready to escape. And once you escape, you go into hypnosis. They play the music, which is why which also helps put you into a more hypnotic state. It's why they play music for cows, so that they'll graze more and eat more and will consume more. This is why in stores they play music, so that we'll consume more. It puts us into hypnosis. And then they're bombarding us with suggestions to buy things, of course, to make us feel inadequate so that we'll buy things. Now, by the way, even though I'm giving away like all this stuff, it's not the same for therapeutic hypnosis. In therapeutic hypnosis, you're in control because you're the one that's coming there with what you want to work on. And when you go into the state of hypnosis, there's no sneaky bullshit. You're going to be conscious of everything that the hypnotist is telling you and giving you as suggestions. Why? Because it's using your own language. So the reason why I brought up the way shopping malls and advertising works is to show you that if you're unsure or like this stuff doesn't make sense or anything, it definitely works.